Hello and welcome to the class. My name's Daniel, and today we're going to be looking a bit more at how to use skimming and scanning. If you have a question after the class, you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. This is the second of two classes and will last just over 20 minutes. First, we're going to talk about short answer questions and matching features questions, and then we're going to look at labeling diagram questions as well, all for the reading part. So by the end, you should be much more familiar with how to answer these types of questions. During the class, there'll be questions for you to answer. These will appear below the video, and I'll tell you when you need to answer them, and I'll give you 10 to 15 seconds for each one. So let's start with short answer questions. Well, what are short answer questions? They are direct questions that you're asked. For example, it might be something like why or who or when, these types of WH questions. And you'll just have to find a direct answer to that question. Usually you get a word limit with them as well. So it can be often between 1 to 3 words and or a number. That's the maximum amount that you can write in the answers. And they refer to just part of a text, not the whole text. So you don't have to understand the whole text to understand the short answer questions. They're usually just a specific part of the text. So how do we answer these types of questions? Well, the first thing that you need to do is to highlight the key words in the question and to think of synonyms for the key words. So the key words, the most important words, and synonyms, words that have the same meaning. And we'll look at how to do this in a moment. Then you have to go to the part of the text containing the answer. So hopefully you'll think, okay, this is in this paragraph or this is in this paragraph, and you go to that paragraph to find the answer. Then once you've found the part of the text, you scan that part to find the containing keywords. And then once you've found the sentence that contains those keywords or the synonyms for the keywords, you read that sentence very carefully to check the meaning of it and to check what the answer is. Now let's have a little bit of practice. So here we have a typical direct question. So it says, who argues that a change in attitudes about health could be a cause for people looking up their own symptoms? And we can see here it's got a who. There's one of these WH questions. It ends with a question mark. So this is a direct question. So the first thing we need to do is to highlight the key words. So I would say who is obviously very important. Argues, again, is important. Change in attitude is important. Health and a cause, people looking up and then their own symptoms. These are all key words here. Another question you might get is one like this. So you can see it's a direct question again. We've got who here. So the key words in who do the general public feel has a lack of information compared to that on the internet. So again, we'd have who, the general public, a lack of information, we'd say compared to and on the internet. So these are the key things again. And then we'd think of synonyms for these to try to find the correct answer. So here's the instructions for the task. It says, read the first sentence of each paragraph and decide in which you would find the answers to these two questions. So we're just going to do it for question 1. So I'd like you to look at question 1 below the video and read these sentences that start the paragraphs and choose which one would you find the information for this in? I'll just give you a moment to try that. So let's have a look now. Well, the correct answer was D. And the reason it's D is if we look at it, we can see there are several reasons. Reasons is like a synonym for cause. A cause is a reason why something happens. But this movement towards self-diagnosis. And self-diagnosis means looking up their own symptoms. So by looking at these keywords here, we can find synonyms for them. And then somewhere in the rest of this paragraph here, you will find the answer to question 1. Now, the good thing is with short answer questions, they follow the order of the text. So if question 1 is in paragraph D, definitely question 2 will be after that in the paragraphs. So it's impossible for 2 to be in C or B. That won't happen. So the answer to question 2 will be maybe in paragraph D, further along, or maybe in paragraph E. It won't go back. So that's an important thing to remember when answering short answer questions. So now let's turn our attention to matching features questions. Well, these are quite different to the short answer ones. In these, you have to match statements to a list of people, places, or maybe paragraphs. And you have to say, which does that statement connect to? And that it might be who said this, it might be where did this happen, or it might be which paragraph contains this information, and you would have to match it. To do this, you have to look at the whole text. So usually it'll be like this part here, and it doesn't go in order. So you have to read the whole text, and it will be asking you questions about the whole text, not just one small part of the text. As I just said, it's not in order. So like the short answer question before, where it would follow the order of the text, in this one, maybe question 1 could be in the last paragraph, question 2 could be in the first paragraph, question 3 could be in the fourth. It could jump all over the place. As well, you can have the same answer more than once. So some answers can be repeated. So if paragraph A was the answer for 1, paragraph A could also be the answer for 4. So you can use the same answer more than once. And not all options are used. So maybe paragraph C, for example, you never need to use it. Now let's look at how to answer matching features questions. So how to answer them? Well, first, it follows a similar process to the short answer questions in that you highlight the keywords and you think of synonyms for them. Specifically, you could think of dates or names or dates. These are often very useful when matching features. After you've highlighted and thought of synonyms, you need to scan the text for a sentence containing the keywords. Again, this is really similar so far to the short answer questions. And then once you've found that sentence or that part of the text that contains the keywords, you need to read it carefully to check that it's the correct answer. So let's have a little bit of practice. Here's an example question. So it says, match the statement with the correct person from the text A to C. So we can see here we've got 3 different people's opinions. And we're trying to find search results for illnesses can often be exaggerated. This is the opinion. So what we need to do first is to highlight the key words again here. So we've got search results. illnesses, often, and exaggerated. They would be the key words here. Now, because you've got people's names, you don't have to think of synonyms for people's names. There's no way that the text will say Peter Tyra in a different way. It will just say Peter Tyra. It might say Mr. Tyra or something like that. But if you scan through the text very quickly just for the names, that's going to be the quickest way to answer this question. For example, you quickly look for Peter's name, and then you read what Peter's opinion is. Then you quickly look for Elaine's name, you read what Elaine's opinion is, and then you look for MJ Dugas and you read what MJ Dugas's opinion is. And by doing that, you can find who has this opinion. So here is the paragraph we're going to read. What I would like you to do is just to scan it for the people's opinions and choose the correct option from question 2 below the video. I'll just give you 10 to 15 seconds to try that. So the first thing we need to do is to find the people's names in the text, to scan for them. So we can see we've got Elaine Showalter here, Peter Tyra here, and we've got MJ Dugas down here. And then we need to check their opinions to these. But let's start with Elaine Showalter. So here we're looking for, it can be exaggerated. Elaine Showalter believes people should resist looking up illnesses for themselves altogether. So she thinks you should never look up illnesses for yourself. She doesn't say anything about exaggerated, so she just says never look them up. Professor Peter Tyra, he explains that Dr. Google is informative, but he doesn't put things in the right proportion. Now, don't put things in the right proportion. That is the same meaning as exaggerated. So he does think that illnesses can be exaggerated. So Peter Tyra is the correct answer here. He also talks about small things like a headache or a blocked nose or a sore throat. People can think are more serious. So again, that's an example of illnesses being exaggerated. So he's the correct answer. But let's look at MJ Dugas anyway, just to check that we've got them all correct. So MJ Dugas still expounds the value that empowering people to become more autonomous patients can have a positive effect. So he thinks people should look up their symptoms. He's saying, yeah, it's a good thing. It empowers people. So definitely Peter Tyra is the correct answer here. And that's how you would use scanning to answer these matching features questions. Finally, let's take a look at labeling diagram questions. It's another quite common one that comes up in the IELTS reading, and we'll go through it here. So what are labeling diagram questions? Well, you have to label a diagram, a picture, with words from the text. So not your own words, and you don't have to change the words at all. The words you need will be in the text somewhere. So you just have to find them and copy them into the gaps. It always focuses on part of a text. So the matching features can look at the whole text. This one, labeling diagrams, will just focus on part of the text rather than the whole text. And the answers are not necessarily in order. So you might have a paragraph with a few different sentences. The first answer might be at the end of the paragraph, and the second answer might be at the beginning of the paragraph. So it doesn't always move in order with the paragraph or the text. So how do we answer them? Well, first you have to look at how many words are required for each gap. It will give you an amount. Then again, we have to highlight the keywords and think of synonyms. You can see that this process, again, is the same for short answer questions, matching features questions, and labeling diagram questions. You always want to highlight keywords and think of synonyms. It's really, really important. Then, because you've got gaps, you have to predict what types of words are needed in the gaps. So what I mean by that is it a noun that you need, or do you need a verb in this gap, or do you need an adjective? And finally, you scan the text and find the part of it which contains the information. And then you read that part carefully. Again, this is very similar to the others. So you're quickly finding where is this diagram, and then you're reading very carefully that part of the text. So here's an example. You can see the instructions on the left. It says label the diagram, use no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. So maximum 2, could be 1 or could be 2. And if we have a look at the image here, it is a magnetic resonance imaging machine. And what we need to do is think, what are the keywords first? Well, the title is the first thing, magnetic resonance imaging machine, that's key. Also these bits here, so gradient coils, patient, magnet, they're keywords. They're the only words we can see on it. So we're going to look for these words in the text. And the good news is that because these are quite technical words, it probably won't be paraphrased. It will probably be the same words in the text. Then we have to think, well, what is missing in each gap? So we need to predict, as we said. And it's going to be nouns. All of these are nouns because they're talking about a part of a machine. So here we need whatever the name of this part is. Again, here we need to know what this is called. Some kind of table, maybe. And here again, we need to know what that is. So we're looking for all nouns in this situation. So here's the part of the text. And what I'd like you to do is to look at questions 3 to 5 below the video and try to find the missing words for the gaps. And I'm going to give you 10 to 15 seconds for each one. Okay, let's look now together. Well, so we said we had the words gradient coils, patient, and magnet were the key words we could maybe find. And we also said we got magnetic resonance imaging machine. Well, we can see here we've got MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging. So we've got that there. We've also got gradient coils is down here. We've got the word patient. It's used the word person here, so it's used a synonym for it. And we've got the word magnet. Well, we've got magnetic and a magnet. So this is the part of it that we need to read. So it says this machine is a large tube which contains a large donut-shaped magnet. Again, we've got magnets here. That's that bit around there. The person lies on the patient platform. The person's lying here. Just outside of the machine. So we can see this is outside of the machine. So this, the answer to number 2 is patient platform. Before being inserted into the opening of the machine, known as the bore. So this bit here this opening that they're in, this is called the bore. So the correct answer for that would be the bore. They are then surrounded by the gradient coils, and magnetic waves are then passed through the patient's body and picked up by a scanner at the base. So this is key. At the base means at the bottom. And so this here must be a scanner. So scanner is the correct answer for 3. So we would look for these keywords in the whole text, and we would find this part, and then we would read this part carefully to find the correct answers. And that's how you would answer a labeling diagram question. Now, if you have any questions, remember you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. Now remember to complete the online training and practice activities on this topic. And thank you very much for coming to the class. We'll see you again. Bye.